Hi everyone, this is Kelsey from Team 5 and this is my presentation of data meeting number 5. For data meeting number 5, I was partnered with Carol Ann from Team 6. We used a Google Doc to share our information and hold our data discussion. We each picked 2 SMART goals to focus on. For my team, I picked by the end of the first quarter, second grade students with IEP goals will use estimation to ensure a reasonable answer when solving addition and subtraction word problems. And by the end of the unit, at least 75% of second grade students will improve their problem solving skills and their ability to solve both addition and subtraction 1 and 2 step word problems. Carol Ann chose IEP students will illustrate the ability to tell time in 5-minute increments displayed by at least 80% accuracy using the online tool Set the Clock Time to 5 minutes, where students set the clock times within 5-minute increments. She also chose the goal IEP students will skip count by fives and read the minute hand on a clock with 90% accuracy, shown by using the online multiplication tool Balloon Pop Match, where students count by fives up to 55, and by using the online practice tool Learn to Tell Time, where students will practice telling time with an abc.com game in which students fix a clock to match a given time. For Team 5, the steps we took were identifying the learning gaps, and we felt that because so many students were struggling, there were some major problems occurring with instruction. We developed our SMART goals to support students with IEPs as well as the rest of the students in the class. This allowed us to focus on creating a plan that allows students to have more time and additional exposure to resources that practice solving addition and subtraction word problems. Some questions that Carol Ann asked were, how did you decide on the online tools you selected? And we had a really nice discussion about how, because I'm a second grade teacher, I used a lot of the resources that I normally use within my teaching and that my county provides. We also had a discussion about switching the goals from a percentage to it being about accuracy, so that it's not about the number of students that are meeting the goal. And I thought that this was a really great change that we could make to improve our SMART goals. Team 2 steps that they took were formatting their goals based on the percentage of students to meet each objectives, but then they were redirected to switch to the percentage of the goal to focus on accuracy of all students that were reaching, not just the students for that goal. After this, instead of determining the success by the number of students who got it, the team changed their SMART goals to have a benchmark that they thought that the expected learning should be before moving on. Finally, they made sure that the games were aligned to standards and objectives that they wanted to meet, and when they discussed how they would implement the tools with their students. So some questions that I had for Carol Ann were, why did her team decide to go with a benchmark of 80 to 90%, and did they feel that that was realistic considering the previous data? And we kind of had a short discussion about how these were very rigorous expectations, but the students were also now receiving more support because of the frequency in which the activities were happening, which kind of led to my other question, which was, what was the decision process for the frequency that each activity was occurring? And we talked about how at her school and within her team, they talked frequently about special ed pullouts and how it was a realistic amount of time that a special ed pullout might be occurring and frequency that it might be occurring within class. For our evaluations, I love that Team 2 used the accuracy scores for the verifying artifacts. I think it makes it very clear to see if the students are making progress. Carol Ann thought that Team 5 did a nice job being really specific about the instructional tactics for each game or method for the game. And we both thought that the plans were realistic and would help improve teaching and learning. We both also had feedback for one another on how to improve our SMART goals. Carol Ann suggested that we reword our SMART goals to better reflect the purpose of our interventions for all students to succeed and meet high expectations. And I suggested adding in non-IEP students to their SMART goals, since there are several of these students who are struggling to meet the objectives but are not students with IEPs. In summary, due to the short turnaround time for getting our partners to when these presentations were due and conflicting schedules and travel, our team decided to meet using a Google Doc. We both put our data in the doc and several times discussed over the doc and the chat to gain a clear picture of what was happening during each of our own team's data meetings. Both teams, we feel, have realistic, viable, and valuable action plans, and both teams also implemented a variety of technology-based resources that will help keep our students engaged. We're both confident that these plans will lead to improved teaching and learning.